Game of Thrones Battle of Winterfell has some weird Last Jedi parallels. Battle of Winterfell had some surprising and weird parallels to the 90-minute even on paper, perhaps the biggest is the big bad Ofat. The parallels to the Night King and the Last Jedi don't stop with Snoke, either. One of the pivotal the Night King imperviousness to dragon fire was reminiscent of Fasimist Gifava element in Star Wars at Last Jedi when the Jedi Master confronted the First Order on Krayt and Kylo Ren gave the order to have all of the M6s open fire on Skywalker. When the smoke cleared the way also echoed Rey in the fight with the Praetorian Guard. When the Night King, a further accidental nod to Star Wars, was after the Night King collapsed into particles of ice. With their leaders met, the Star Wars influence on Game of Thrones Season 8 should come as no surprise considering showrunners David Benioff and D.B. Weiss will direct their Game of Thrones Season 8 airs Sundays at 9 p.m. on HBO.
Raindrop, drop top, top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that.